Well, hello and welcome to Fun Fantasy FPL. My name is Harry.
And I'm Stephen Berry.
And on this week's pod, we're going to pick on a few games that have been in quite an entertaining weekend of football, I'd say, with some big results, top of the table, bottom of the table. I know it's cliche there, but I think it's very true. Currently, we're recording this on the Monday. Sorry, so the Chelsea West Ham game is still going on. It's 1-1 at the moment. So if there are any yelps midway through, we do apologise. But at the moment, it looks like Graham Potter's going to have a successful return back to Stamford Bridge. But we'll see. But before we crack on to those games, Stephen, why don't you talk us through your team and how you did?
Not great. So as is my way, everyone was playing a chip either AM or triple captain. So of course that put me off any sense of playing a chip. So I didn't do. Also I couldn't help myself when everyone was going Salah to do something else. So I captained Ndiaye, who got a goal in the end. But let's be frank here. Everton 4-0, two goals from Beto, only one goal from Ndiaye. That's a disgrace. Let's just
Yeah.
let's just call that what that is. That is an absolute disgrace. Both my goalkeepers, as I feared, are now dropped. Sanchez didn't play today, isn't playing right now.
Yeah.
So I currently
I've,
have no goalkeepers.
I've got Verbruggen coming off the bench with a -1, which is a shit sandwich, really.
Nice, nice. Neko Williams, sorry, he came to my rescue with 12 points.
Yeah. Well, wow.
But yeah, Canate with six, but by and large, I mean, I'm only 2 points below the average, but I think that really doesn't that's a bit of a false dawn because I think a lot of people will have Salah captain or triple captain, basically, or they'll have an AM chip in play. So what I need is Ndiaye. I'm calling out to him now to write himself into Merseyside folklore. Hat trick, absolutely. Salah's absolutely nullified by Mikalenko and crew, and ideally a red card for Salah. That would be lovely. But I think that's very very optimistic. I'm afraid.
Yeah, I was just going to look about where you are actually in the league in the oh, there you go, 30th, 58 points. Yeah, it's not a I would it's a bit more cliche, but it's not a good week to have a bad week, is it? You
No,
know,
yeah, exactly.
um,
The crowd are very much right. So, but again, that's what I love doing. I love going against the current, despite it never working. I'm trying to think of one time it's worked. Not really working, but I'm sticking to my principles on this one, unfortunately.
so do you think the Bielsa way is just going against the grain, regardless of any logical reason?
No, there was logic. So I don't know if we're going to talk about Liverpool Bournemouth later, but I thought Bournemouth had beaten Arsenal at home. They'd beaten City, and they just looked good. But Liverpool, from what I mean, again, I didn't watch the game live, but it sounds like Liverpool just went there and did a job and got a comfortable
Mm,
2-0. I really thought Liverpool, but I didn't think Liverpool would win. And maybe that's a little bit of Arsenal bias there, but I
mhm.
really, really didn't think that they would win. Even if they did win, I didn't think it was going to be by a comfortable margin. It was 2-0. Now, fundamentally, one was Salah's on penalties. That's my fault. But, two, he didn't have to get both of those goals. So there was a genuine belief that I really thought Liverpool wouldn't win there. I generally
Yeah.
thought Bournemouth would do quite well. I think all you can really say is Liverpool are just a cut above the rest of the league this season, really. They're going to win the league at a canter. If there was any niggling doubts or any potential hope for Arsenal fans, I think that's it gone right there. Liverpool just looked too good.
Yeah, and I will say that Chelsea have just scored. I'm about to see the highlights of the goal. Oh, it's Cole Palmer. No, it's not Cole Palmer. Damn it!
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
the street. The sorry, it's yeah. I missed the goal because we were chatting away. But
Mm.
yeah. Look, I think I liked the Ndiaye shout. I did. And I
Mm.
think watching the highlights, he was really unlucky not to get more than that. And I mean, I think the through ball for Beto's second goal is outrageous. It's worth a Google because it's James Gardner who's been nowhere really, been brought in as
Yeah.
like a must because they've got massive injuries in the middle. Um, I think Palmer has got the assist or it's a goal for him directly. So that's destroyed one of my talking points immediately.
Mhm.
Oh god, but no, I'm currently on 80 points with, like I said, that Verbruggen -1 come off the bench, and sort of eat into my score going. I did play the triple captain, so it's currently Salah with 48 points with that applied. Trent going off is injured is a bit frustrating because I was hoping to get 2 games out of him. It looks like maybe I won't. And Gakpo getting the assist for a dubious penalty, but I think it's probably right to be a penalty. And then Mikalenko coming through for me with a clean sheet. So yeah, look, I think Everton look really good. I think that's really interesting sign for the game on Wednesday. But I'm broadly happy. But the most frustrating thing for me is I sold Chris Wood for Ndiaye. If I hadn't done that,
Well, the Ndiaye hat trick that we're both praying for. I mean, imagine, Barry.
Yeah.
Imagine how you would feel.
Yeah, it would be good because if Trent didn't play, I'd want Everton to score loads of goals because there'll be other people with other Liverpool defenders. So I'd want it, there to be some goals there. Whether that will happen, I don't know. But it's the last game at Goodison Park, the last Merseyside derby, lot on it. So yeah, I think it's very possible, but I
think it's fair to say for the good of football as well as FPL, Everton 10-0 or something would be.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's come on, Everton. Let's do this. You're the people's club. Get a result for the people. Do what needs to be done. Also, a lot of people, and another thing that would be a benefit to me is that a lot of people went contrarian and went Moyes over Slot as the AM, and so far that's doing well. So if Everton do win 10-0, that's
it's
26 points or something like that.
It was a surprising number of people that went for the AM chip this week. I thought everyone would be going on the triple captain, but then when Ben Crellin, shout out to him, announced that there almost definitely will be a double game week on game week 25, actually it means that you could get, with an AM chip, you could get 5 games out of an assistant manager, but you would need to play Slot. You couldn't play anyone else. Because, I mean, well, look, Spurs are going to lose Liverpool and they'll go through, and as a result, they'll get the double.
Will they?
Yeah, they will. But so then he will have 2 doubles, and 2 pretty nice doubles to be fair. So yeah, I can understand it, but I just think that there's better weeks to do it. I'm quite surprised that so many people went with the AM chip, but I went triple captain. I'm pretty happy with the result. Look, with triple captain, I think it's the weakest chip in the game. So if you get 15 points out of your captain over the 2 game weeks, that's pretty good. 15, 20 points triple captain. That's it's nearly a 50, 60 point haul. So if Salah gets another return or 2 in the Everton game, I'll be more than chuffed. But if he doesn't get anything, I'll still be pretty happy because it's you want to see that return on that chip. So
yeah. Well, time will tell. Like, so let's say Salah just plays and gets 2. Let's say Everton scored 2 points, 18. So basically, you need Slot to get 19 or more. He's already on 10. And I think the way to look at that would be to add on the fixtures as well, because they didn't have doubles. What could have happened? I think mathematically, just by playing. But again, I hear you. I guess time will tell. But I do understand how a chip that is meant to give you 3 fixtures gives you 5 was just too tempting mathematically.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about a couple of the games. So I'm going to kick off with the Bournemouth Liverpool game. Now you briefly touched on it. I thought this was going to be a much closer game than it was, and watching the highlights, it was right. Bournemouth had a hatful of chances. Kluivert missed an open goal, literally, the
top transferred in player curse continues.
Yeah. He missed an open goal. Quite easy could have been, it was a sitter, 5 yards out. He was just on the right hand side of it. Should have scored. Semenyo hit the post twice, I think. So Bournemouth really had their chances, and I think it was probably only due to the impressive midfield performance of McAllister, who maybe could have been sent off, and Dominic Szoboszlai and Ryan Gravenberch. That 3 were pretty impressive. And I think that's probably the reason why they won it on the day. Penalty was penalty, a bit soft. But Gakpo getting that assist for me, I obviously loved it. And Salah's goal to wrap it up was pretty beautiful. The other thing I'd mention as well is that Kirkez had a goal. Well, there was a goal ruled offside for David Brooks, but Kirkez would have got the assist. So actually, I think if you're holding on a player like that, I wouldn't be disheartened, is what I'm saying. I think that I know I recommended 3 Bournemouth players in 3 different positions, but I think if you'd bought any of those, I wouldn't be disheartened at all. I mean, I benched Kirkes this week because I thought Liverpool would score. Didn't think it was going to happen for them, but I have to say that it's not actually a question of whether you own a Bournemouth player; it's whether you own two. Maybe three is a bit much for me, but I would say two, and then it's which two. I mean, I'm probably going to go Kirkes this week. I've got Star in my team from Palace, who's kind of stinking up the team, so I probably will go to Kirkes.
In the next 6 fixtures, they've got 2 of the relegated teams, so yeah,
makes sense.
Plough
makes sense. But yeah, I assume you want to talk about the emphatic win in North London for the red side of North London, anyway.
I do indeed. I'm going to be talking about 2 emphatic wins. Obviously, is Forest Brighton, which I think needs a bit more of a discussion.
Does absolutely.
But yes, the mighty Arsenal, smashing, battering, humbling Man City. The discourse on Twitter has been some of the most hilarious Twitter discourse of all time. Now, bearing in mind, like, I do agree at times that Arsenal fans, give themselves a bit of a bad rep and say silly things and all this sort of stuff. But really, we're not allowed to make fun of Haaland after he went to stay humble. Who the fuck are you to Lewis Skelly? Like, I'm sorry, why are we not allowed to mock him for
who said you're not allowed? Who said you're not allowed to mock him?
All of football Twitter, they're saying like, "Oh, this is what Arsenal fans don't get. This is exactly what Haaland meant by not being." Thank you. Even as Spurs fans agree with this is nonsense.
Well,
so,
I haven't. I think this might be a classic case of being down your rabbit hole on social media, right? I haven't seen anything about that. I've only seen, Arsenal fans, go on a massive trumpet, right, saying that, they're going to win the league now. It's their time to come back. Like, I guess it's, social media is always in the eye of the beholder, right? And if you have a very Arsenal heavy social media, which I imagine you do, you're going to get people reporting or sharing pictures of Man City fans or someone else, having a pop, having a go. Look, at the end of the day, it was a great performance, right? But Liverpool is still probably going to win the league. Arsenal have been disappointing in other areas, and they're playing against a Man City team who have a midfield that are in their 30s. So I wonder whether the only thing I'll say about Arsenal fans that really bugs me, I don't mind anything else they do, right? Most of it I find quite funny, actually. The only thing I don't like is how quickly they go to a place of like, oh, we have a God-given right to have won that game, or this was always coming. This is, all this sort of stuff. I'm just like, that's why I don't mind the stay humble stuff, and I don't mind the banter around it, because it is a little bit like, all right, you've done something. Great, brilliant. You might still go and lose to Aston Villa in a couple of weeks' time. Or you might, like, there are loads of things in there that they just don't do. And what I'm going to say is stay humble, Arsenal fan. Stay humble.
Yeah. I love the fact that only Arsenal fans have to temper their expectations when winning 5-1 against the champions. Yes, you can criticize Man City.
We won 4-0 against Man City. You didn't see any Spurs fans.
You guys went.
No, there was no Spurs. No, sorry, there were no Spurs fans going on Twitter or anywhere like that saying we're going to win the league. Like, no one was doing that, because we know where we are, because we have like some concept of reality, right? And we understand that our team is not equipped to it. Arteta's a good manager. You've got good players. You've got, a massive fan base and all the rest of it. That's the reason why you are where you are, and they've stuck with the project, right?
Yeah.
If you had Daniel Levy in charge of that club, you wouldn't be there.
Hey, I've got a lot of time for Levy. Putting in bids he knows are going to be rejected on deadline day, just to say, look, I did try to get Gay 70 million. I admire that.
We've properly mugged off Man United, though, haven't we? Got that.
You got Tell.
Yeah,
Tell. Is it Tell? Tej?
I was going to put the name anyway.
Arsenal tried to go in last minute for him as well. So
yeah, and I was putting a £70 million on the table for Marcus Gay as well, which I thought was quite fun.
Yeah, again, Levy doing something that he that thing that Wenger did all the seasons ago for I can't remember the winger in France, but they ended up accepting it and he had to withdraw the offer because they didn't think it would get accepted. So yeah. Levy's obviously done that very much. Anyway, going off tangent. One thing I will say to you, I do agree. So first of all, Arsenal didn't really get out of second or third gear until 1-1. Now what can you sort of interpret from that? I think the main thing to take away from that game is City just aren't that good anymore. Um, they've beaten Ipswich 6-0. They had another big win, didn't they? But it was against somebody not very good. Um, at 2-1, they really just gave up. And then they were like, obviously they were trying, I guess you could argue they were trying to go for the equaliser, but they were really just too open, too disorganized. In the first half, they had no cutting edge. I think they only had that Haaland shot on target. No, sorry, they had two. Sorry, they had two. Ryan made a very good save in
But
the
Haaland's was
first
the
half.
last one they had. It was the last shot they had on
Yeah,
target. Mental.
yeah. So yeah, and look, the 5-1 again, they were just sort of going for it. There's some deflection stuff like that, but I think yeah, they just didn't look that good, to be honest with
Mm,
you. Like, I think 5-1 was a little bit kind to Arsenal, obviously, where he scored at the death, and but I
banging
still
goal
think
through.
you would struggle. Yeah, I still think you would struggle to find any City fan who said, "Yeah, we deserve to win that game, or even deserve to get a point." I agree with you. Does this mean Arsenal are going to win the league? Probably not. But what I think it does mean is that I wouldn't be looking at City players unless they are playing teams quite near the bottom, in which case I think they will still get more 5 and 6 nils. But if they're playing like mid-table teams, they're risky. They've got Newcastle
Mm.
next. Newcastle, fair enough, lost at home to Fulham. Fulham, as per, actually trying hard against good teams. But the only thing we maybe say about that is that obviously they've got the Carling Cup semi. I can't remember when that is. Maybe that might, I don't know. They've got a 2-0 advantage over Arsenal,
Well,
obviously, but maybe
Newcastle,
that might
yeah,
take. Yeah, but yeah, Man City, if they're playing like a semi-decent team, they're them as an FPL asset look poor, look
yeah.
really really poor. Playing lower teams, yeah, absolutely. I think you probably do want a Foden, or if you
Do
can't
you
afford it, maybe
though?
Margaret.
Do you? I
Well,
mean, Foden he registered not a single shot,
he
not a
was
single
awful,
XA. He would nothing.
awful.
He assisted Thomas Partey for the goal.
Yeah.
Like it just. I mean, he had a stinker. He had an absolute stinker. I mean, they all did.
But I
I
think,
mean,
but
I'm not sure whether I agree with you that they gave up, but it must be slightly worrying for. I mean, look, going back to the FPL stuff. I think yes, you're right. Probably not right to own an FPL player. Sorry, a Man City player at all. Um, I do find it interesting though that Haaland is starting to score a little bit, and I wonder whether he's maybe becomes an option in a few weeks. If he keeps it up, what do you think? Is it worth it? Do you think there's no Saka in the game? One of my questions, and my only question was going to be about the game that we have here, the Chelsea West Ham game, is what do we do about Palmer? Although he's got an assist this evening. Um,
mm,
if you're not having Palmer, you're only having Salah. You can fit a Haaland in there, can't you? Really?
yeah, I mean, he scored three on the spin now, Haaland.
Yeah, I got an
Something
assist.
like that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I said, they've got Newcastle next. I think if he scores against Forest, I think that's when you're like, oh, okay. It doesn't really matter how bad City are. I mean, they're Liverpool after that game. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. Sorry, they have Newcastle then Liverpool. Sorry, but then they have Spurs. So yeah, if you can afford to get him in for that game, then go for it. But yeah, Newcastle, Liverpool, Spurs, Forest, Brighton.
Brighton,
Then they play
Leicester.
less. Yeah,
Yeah, but then
yeah.
you're in the
So
tail end of the season.
yeah,
I think on wildcard he will be in my mind because I usually wildcard around game week 30. So
mm,
my plan, my chip strategy, and we maybe should do something on chip strategy. Um, Probably is going to be to dead end my team into game week 29 when we will probably have a blank, and then for game week 30 wildcard out of that. If I need to, but probably that's what I'll do. And then I think Holland will be in my thoughts because Man City do have a really nice run in.
mm.
And they will be playing for things. It won't be like they got their flip flops on, but yeah, I think it's just impressive to see the decline that they've gone through. I'd say, but
Yeah.
from an Arsenal perspective, I mean, like, is there anyone else that we should be? I mean, I've got Gabriel. I haven't got any attacking players. The returns were spread kind of all over the place. Declan Rice got man of the match. Um,
Yeah.
who do you go for? Who do you go for?
Well, yeah, I think defenders or Raya. I mean, given that I don't have a goalkeeper who starts right now,
Yeah, that's true.
Raya comes really into play. All these expensive. He's the same price as Timber. The thing with Timber now is we play a back four, but it's basically a back three, and Lewis Skelly is the one who goes forward. So when it's Calafiore at left back, he stays back and Timber goes forward. Now it's the other way around. So essentially, Timber, I'm playing with a centre back really, who isn't Gabriel or even Saliba um, at corners. So
Yeah.
actually, Timber's actually become a lot less interesting recently because of that. If Calafiore comes back into the team, but I can't see that happening given how Lewis Skelly is playing. Um, I'm probably if I'm spending 5.5 million anyway, I guess I go Raya instead. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think you want an Arsenal either defender or goalkeeper, definitely. And then I would imagine people like Martinelli are quite cheap. He should be in there for a while. Trossard I don't know how much he would be. Let me have a look. Maybe just because of their
Yeah,
price, you would look at some of them. But
because
Marley
they're in that
6.7, Trossard 6.8.
they are in that weird price bracket where they're about a Morgan Gibbs White money,
Yeah,
but aren't as
I
guaranteed as their minutes.
and I'd have Gibbs White over them too.
So would
So
I. So would I.
yeah,
Okay, cool. Well, I think what we're saying is, look, maybe not now to invest in City. They still look a bit like the Royal all over the shop. Get an Arsenal defender. Is you just mentioned him, your left back, who's playing really well. Not
Lewis
Timber, the other
Skelly.
one. Is he a defender in the game?
He's annoyingly a midfielder. So yeah, if he was a defender, you'd
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he would be
absolutely.
like 4 million, wouldn't he? You'd go straight for him, but he's not, unfortunately. So
That's sad. That's sad. Okay, cool. So as I mentioned in my question earlier, because it was the game that's on this evening. But what do I do about Palmer? He's just got an assist. Um, he's not really done much else for a while. Um, I have kind of forgotten about him a little bit, I suppose. But if you were to get rid of him, where are you going? He's 11.1 million, so or 11.3 actually with the increases, but I obviously bought him early. So um, yeah, what do we do? What do we do, Stephen?
well, he's still second in terms of midfielders. As you said, he is quite expensive. I think you sort of have to hold on to him, don't you?
Yeah,
Um, because Nottingham Forest players are so cheap, that sort of locks out three. Bournemouth players are cheap. Basically, money isn't a problem in this game, really. I mean, I've got
yeah,
Foden and Watkins, and I still have money in the bank. I have Isaac as well. So, I guess it really depends on Chelsea's fixtures.
yeah.
They
They
have
do have Leicester and
Brighton.
Southampton in 2 games time, but they have Brighton and Villa in between that. So it's
Well, Brighton. I might as well go to
uh,
Nottingham Forest, Brighton now. Like,
yeah,
what has
crack on you.
happened to them? What has happened to
Yeah,
Brighton? Like, I mean, it looks like they went to Forest, went all out attack. They let the 5-0 get into their
yeah.
head, and Forest just went, sure,
They
we
went
will.
they went 4-1-4-1, right? And so then they left one midfielder in the middle to deal with Morgan Gibbs White. The attacking wingers they had weren't tracking back the players. So they just had 2-on-1s on the wing all the time. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Forest ripped them apart. They
And
didn't
isn't
pay
it
them any
that guy
respect.
Hinshelwood, right? Who's
He
not,
was in
he's
he was in the
pretty,
CM, yeah.
he's pretty mediocre. Isn't he attacking midfield as
No,
well?
well, he scored. He is a CM, but he has scored a few goals,
He's
and
not
so
a
he
D.
works.
He's not a D.
No. He's not like anyone that playing like Kovacic position or something like that. He's
Yeah.
definitely not that. But that yeah, they should have played more in that midfield. He's a young coach. Maybe they just got it wrong from the tactics perspective. But um, yeah, I don't think it's anything on the players did apart from maybe lack of pressing. But I think also the instructions were a bit garbled because they were having these 2-on-1s, and João Pedro's got in his ear. From Lamptey saying, I've got 2-on-1 here, so you need to like kind of
Mm.
stay with me. But that means that then, Nico Williams or Aina could pick the passes across, and then Morgan Gibbs White was just had an absolute wand of the day, like just
Yeah.
absolutely pinging it left, right, and centre, and it was always going to the man. And then you've got Alanga and Hudson-Odoi who are just so rapid. And then you've got the big man, your best mate up top, who's
Yeah.
broke my heart on Saturday during the day. I thought, yeah, I'll play a triple captain. I'm really excited for this. I've gone for the Ndiaye. I'm really like, yeah, double game week fever. And then Wood scores a hat trick in the first game.
Yeah,
I could break the 100 points bracket if I didn't do that. So, which is really upsetting.
So I'm just going through Brighton. So they beat Man City at home. They beat Bournemouth away when they went down to 10 men. Very good. That was on the 23rd of November. After that, Jesus Christ. Drew at home to Southampton. Lost to Fulham away. Drew away at Leicester. Lost at home to their rivals Palace. 1-1 to West Ham. I think had Locatelli was still there. Drew to Brentford. Drawn to Villa away. Drawn to Arsenal at home, who, by the way, were terrible. And I watched that game, who were terrible. Beat Ipswich away, fine. Beat Man U away, fine. So they've beaten the relegation teams. But then they lost to Everton. And then that's not good. That just for a team that are pushing for Europe, that's pretty poor.
Yeah.
But
Don't want to make
because
up Brighton. I mean, do you think they're just like a team that's kind of in the middle now? They're kind of sorted. They're
yeah,
not really going anywhere per se. I mean, are any of their assets attractive? I mean, I sold João Pedro and it was the best day of my life. Because it was annoying the hell out of
yeah.
me. But we know that if those players come back into form, they're pretty cheap, pretty accessible. Yeah, is any of their players find appealing for you?
I mean, Dunker's 4.2 got an own goal. Is he not starting anymore for them?
No, he is.
Uh, yeah. I mean, they are all really cheap, aren't they?
That's the thing, like,
They're all dirt cheap. But again, like João Pedro, you've got Vardy, you've got Ndiaye. Matoma is that Matoma at 6.3. He's been doing okay for me, but again, Gibbs White and the Arsenal players we talked about not far away. There's quite a good few 4.5. So
yeah, yeah,
I think, and I don't think their fixture run is any better either.
yeah.
And they got Well, they got Southampton coming up, but yeah, Bournemouth, Fulham, City, Villa, Palace again, their rivalry. Yeah, I mean, unless your strategy is, by the way, I think it's a fine one, is just have at least one player playing Southampton every week. I understand. Have a Brighton player for that week, but yeah, they're just meh Brighton right now, and I think they will be
Fair,
meh probably to the end of the season.
fair enough. Cool. And there is just one other game that I wanted to talk about from the FPL perspective is Man United Palace. But no, it's not so we can absolutely go for Man United in a horrendous way, although they were terrible. And Palace got their second away win at Old Trafford. It seems to be not a collector's item
Mm.
anymore. Um,
No.
I think we've got to look at Palace players now. I know a
Oh,
couple of game weeks ago, or maybe like a month ago, we were talking about how they were in a real difficult position. But look at Henderson. He's the fourth highest keeper for points in FPL, and he's 0.5 cheaper than all the people above him. So, and I think he got 9 points away. Don't quote me on that. I think 9 or 7 points. He got some bonus points. This is what I'm saying. Like, he makes good saves. We know he's a good shot stopper, and because it's Palace, he will have chances for it. I think Gay, great shout. At 4.4 million. You've got Munez, who's 4.7, got 11 points at the weekend as well. Mitchell's also a good shout. But then I think, probably the player I'd be most attracted to go for if I didn't have, where the team was structured would be Mateta. I think
yeah.
he's just a bulldog up the top. He's absolute machine
Mm.
of a man. I actually
Did
won.
anyone on this podcast recommend getting him in last week? I think somebody did. Was it you? No, it wasn't you, was it? No, it was somebody else
Oh,
anyway.
was it Josh? Please tell me it was
Eh,
Josh.
It wasn't Josh.
No, it was you, Stephen. Okay, Stephen. So I mean, this brings into lots of questions. You come up with some really good recommendations. You go against the template, and go against the road calls. In theory, if you actually listen to your rational
Yeah, I
sense,
know.
you could be quite a good FPL manager and up amongst the
I
top.
know. But where's the fun in that, Barry? Where's the
And
fun in that?
and that is another great clip for the Instagram reels. But yeah, so I think that if you're not looking at Palace defenders or some of or Mateta, I would recommend doing so. I think they've got some good fixtures coming up as well. And I'm also just going to check that they don't have a game in 29 though. That's the only thing I'll say. So they will blank in 29. So it's important to recognise in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
But
so
they've got Everton at home, Fulham
yeah.
away, Villa away, Ipswich, Newcastle Southampton. Not bad. Not
It's not.
amazing, but
It's
not
not
bad.
bad. It's not bad. I mean, I think the people who've got the best fixtures at the moment are Brentford. They're the best. I think Brentford, Bournemouth, and maybe then Palace is their third.
Bournemouth's run is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It is. It is. I mean, I think I'm not going to recommend it this week, but I'm going to be recommending a Wolverhampton Wanderers player next week. I'm pretty sure. Um,
Okay.
so I've
Well,
already been thinking about it for my bankers for future game weeks. This is how prepared I am for this list. Can you believe it?
okay. Well, do you want to go into now then? I think I agree. I agree with you. By the way, I think a Palace player would be helpful. Basically, look at
Yeah.
4 clean sheets in the last 4 games.
Okay.
So both home and away. So
And
pretty good.
now I have a Brighton goalkeeper who got -1 away at Forest and Sanchez who's not playing. It has derailed my plans a little bit, but I am thinking about oddly, I'm thinking about taking out Ismail Smart Assar and putting in Dean Henderson and then taking a -4 to get him private. That's
Wow.
what I'm now actually thinking about, which is a bit of a weird
Yeah.
chain of thought for me. But anyway, yeah, I mean that was what I was trying to do there, Steve. It was a nice transition into the next subject to
You did.
see
You did.
trying to be semi-professional here and make it sound like we don't know. We do know some things, and we're not absolute, morons when it comes to
Mm.
this. But yeah, so I'll do my banker first. I know it's pretty obvious, but look, if you don't own Salah, what are you doing? Get him.
Mm.
If you do, I think Gakpo is actually represents a really interesting striker. Um, Quite for the long term, actually. I'd say the next 5, 6 game weeks, I'd be happy to have him in my team. I thought I was just going to have him and then move him on to like a Mateta. I may even go back to Chris Wood because I'm so scared to not have him. But I think that he represents a really interesting choice. We know how strikers are; they go on runs. This is the start of that. I think he had a couple of good shots outside the box and inside as well. He makes movements. He's a striker. Making those runs right, very direct. Yeah, I think get him.
Yep. Triple
So
Liverpool. Just have 3 Liverpool players:
yeah.
Gakpo, Salah, and Trent. If you can't afford them, Konate or
Who would have
VVD.
thought it? Actually, we would be recommending triple level's fine, but then we're also thinking about at least double Newcastle, maybe at least double Bournemouth, at least double Forest, right? And that's before we've even gone on to like Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City,
Yeah.
or Man United. Mind you, that's probably a lesser of an issue, but like
Yeah.
that, the state of the Barclays Premier League, absolutely unreal.
Exactly.
But,
Best
but
league in
yeah,
the
so
world for a reason.
yeah, better than the Farmers League. Hey,
Yeah.
so who's your banker this week then?
I'm actually going to go a little bit against what I said earlier, and actually it probably would be an Arsenal player. I quite like Odegaard, so
The
he
banker.
looked back to his bet. Now he's not cheap; he's 8 point something or other. But again, money isn't really a problem. I have Foden, who it's got question marks over him. But I've Arsenal got Leicester and West Ham basically. So let's sort of call a spade a spade. That Nottingham Forest not great, but then Man U, Chelsea, who we tend to have done well at recently. Fulham, Everton, not the best run, but still pretty good. And again, you have Leicester next. Leicester, bless them. They'll try. They'll see if they can do something against us, and it won't work. So I would say Trossard looked really good. Trossard deserves a bit of a shout out, actually. He played really, really well. He hasn't got a lot of pace, which I think works against him. But I would say if I was to say a bank, I would say getting an Arsenal attacker, I'd say probably the safest option would actually be Trossard. He looks the most undroppable. Odegaard, if you want expected Bennett, Odegaard, if you want guaranteed start every week, and when he does score, he tends to go on a bit of a run. So I'm going to say Odegaard's the banker for this week. Let's put
Okay,
it that way.
cool. And then your middling.
My middling, I was actually going to go Palace as well. But I said Palace last week. He was going to be in my rogue camp, but as I've now come up with the actual rogue shout, and I think annoyingly you have the same one as I do, but let's see. And my middling is Son. So again,
Okay,
expensive,
that is
expensive.
interesting. Okay, tell me your thoughts. Tell me your reasoning.
He should. Okay, it's Son. I mean, his talents are very well known. They have 2 relegation teams next, Man U and Ipswich. They then have uh, the team that they dominate, Man
Oh,
City. That's a pretty good 3 run. And also the
yeah, Son
reason
does
why I
love
like,
scoring against City as well.
and he won't be high owned. He won't be
No,
high owned.
I'd
Um,
say sub 5%.
yeah, let's see if I can find him. Again, he's expensive. I reckon his price would have dropped though quite significantly.
9.5, 9.6.
He's 9.8.
Oh,
Yeah, so I mean, do I drop? I mean, Foden to Son. Oh, it's
that
tempting.
does sound tasty. What percentage is he owned then? Was I right?
He is 4.7%, and
Sub 5%. Come on. That's what I said.
10 points in his last game.
Yeah, 2 assists. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
he's tempting.
okay,
But
cool.
before I go into my rogue, I'll let you do your middling and
Yeah, yeah.
rogue. Should we say our rogue at the same time at the end to see if we've got the
I
same
feel
one?
I think we should do the rogue at the same time. So let me do my middling
Yeah,
first. So
yeah.
my middling is going to be Wissa of Brentford.
Yeah.
Now I mentioned it earlier. Brentford do have a good run. I think they were unlucky against us, to be honest. Brentford had a couple of really nice chances, and I wouldn't be put off owning them. I was tempted to buy Mbeumo if you were listening to the pod last week. So I think if you own him, great, don't get worried, don't worry about it. But I would be looking at Wissa, even if I owned a Mbeumo, because I just think he's a really interesting option. Again, we have lots of cash swinging around. I think there isn't really like a preset of the three strikers up top. I think the midfield for a lot of players is pretty locked. So I have Salah, Palmer, Ahmad, and Rogers. And I can't remember who my last. Oh, no, I can't remember who my other one is. It
Hmm.
shows how much time I'm paying attention to my own team. But yeah, so like if you're locked in the midfield, I think that where the options are probably in in your striking position. Oh, Sarr, of course, who I'm going to get rid of anyway. So I think that because of that, it means that bringing in a player like Wissa who won't be that highly owned. I think he's 11% owned. It's really going to be quite a nice differential, and they have a decent run. Um, he's not quite a banker because he hasn't scored in three, but I
Hmm.
think he's still pretty lethal. So that's my middling. But so we're going to say our rogue at the same time. If it's the same, then
Uh,
dear listeners, you can understand why we started this podcast in the first place.
okay.
So we'll do it on three, two, one, and then we'll say it.
Three, two, one, and then say the name.
Okay, okay. Three, two, one. Rashford.
Rashford. Yes, yes. Of course it was.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is
Yeah.
brilliant. That is absolutely outrageous.
One thing
Okay.
I will say, he's probably the most obvious rogue, if you
Yeah,
see
yeah,
what I
true, true.
mean. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'll just sort of give the quick headlines. He's 6.7, I think, or 6 point something or other.
6.6, yeah.
Watkins has a knock. He doesn't look like it'll be too serious, but you don't bring in Marcus Rashford on loan from Manu. Apparently, it means Manu are paying the majority of his wages, but Villa are still paying a hefty chunk.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought Villa were paying the majority of his wages.
Maybe, but Manu are still paying a hefty. I think they're paying
Yeah,
40% or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, either way, yeah, because I think Rashford's on 400 a week or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
300, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's not been brought there to sit on the bench. I can't see him being an impact sub there, especially if Watkins has got a knock. Um, I can just see him starting, and he obviously, when he has a point to prove, he really has a point to prove. Also, you got to remember, Villa are a team who get a little bit underrated. A lot of teams, like Wolves at the weekend, who fair enough
They'll
won the
go for
game.
him. They will go for him, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And what does Rashford love? Space in behind.
Counter-attacking, yeah, yeah.
So do you know what? I also looked at his points. He's got 66 points or something already, which for a guy who's
It's
not
not bad.
playing, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, just for the context, Rogers, who everyone says has the best season in the world, is on 97. So, um,
Do you know what
yeah,
I've just thought
he's
about? If Spurs beat Liverpool this week, Villa have a double game week. Oh, I could be convincing myself to do it.
Mm.
Saar is going to be sold. Saar's coming out my team.
Yeah,
I'm in the market for a midfielder around that price. So, wow, that's amazing. I mean, he's 2% owned, isn't he, or something like that?
yeah,
Um,
2.1.
yeah, yeah. Like, if he starts scoring, people are going to buy him in quickly and at pounds.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I
That's
think
true.
I think he'll quite quickly go up to 7 if he starts scoring because the Rashford fan club will come out for him. So, but yeah, no, cool. Okay, well that's great. And fantastic way to end the pod this week. Before we go,
Mm.
we're obviously going to do a question. Glad that we picked it up from last week because there are some interesting stats out there. So our question last week was who spends 90% of their income on wages? The relative amount. Obviously, every club's income is different. So the percentage does vary between, but the majority of clubs are around the 50s and stuff. Um, but it was the team who spent the most out of their income. Stephen, you know the answer. Do you want to
Mm.
reveal it?
I do. It's the team that have just put another 150k towards Rashford. It is Aston Villa.
Aston Villa, indeed, that team that somehow they're racking off a bill that is 96% of their income is on wages. I don't know how that's sustainable. Maybe that's the reason why they sold John Duran. I don't know. But yeah, pretty mental in the stats. And for context, Spurs are on 44%. Because well, maybe not after tonight, after we've signed some players, but there we go. But cool. And then the fact or the question for this week, it is related to the Arsenal Man City game, clearly the game of the weekend. So Man City have suffered their heaviest defeat in the Premier League since losing away to which team in January 2017? So I think it's the first time. Well, this season, I think they've lost by more than 4 goals. The 4th time this season, but it's the heaviest
Yeah.
defeat away in the Premier League that they've had. In
Can I give the listeners a clue?
Yeah, go.
So this game is famous because the team that beat them, they had 4 shots on target and all of them went in. It was during Claudio Brava's save hiatus month where he almost went 1 month without making a save. Annoyingly, he made 1 save at the end of March, and in other words, we were all deprived of one of the greatest stats in Premier League history. But nevertheless, this was during Bravo's save hiatus.
Great to know. That's Claudio Brava. Jesus, that takes us back. But that's it for this week. We obviously still have the Liverpool Everton game to go. So by the time it's in your ear holes, that game would have happened. Hopefully, Salah scored another hat trick and Ndiaye as well. So if you like what we're doing, please give us a follow, Instagram, Twitter, and all the rest of it. We are trying to share some content on there to see some more of our smiling faces coming to you on your various devices. And once again, thank you to our lovely, amazing producers, Rita, who didn't triple captain or use any chip this week, maybe regretting it, but it's still doing pretty well, better than me somehow. And we've been Fun Fantasy FPL. Get my teeth in. Hope you have a great game week.
Cool. Thank you.